using the appearance panel in Illustrator. So we previously looked at applying effects and that they are housed in this appearance panel, but now let's just examine the appearance panel and all of the features that are there. So if you don't recognize the appearance panel as being in your panel dock, go up to Window and locate Appearance. I actually am going to remove it from the panel dock so we can look at it a little bit closer. So the appearance panel is, like I said, the gateway for controlling, manipulating these attributes that we apply to our artwork. And so we see fills, we see strokes, and we see effects. Now in this example, I have multiple fills and I have some effects, and if you open up a specific fill, you'll see that there are effects in these fills. So it can be embedded and it can get fairly complex. The stacking order. Fills and strokes are listed in order from front to back. The effects, these things, are listed in the order in which they are applied. So if I wanted to change the stacking order, I'm going to select it, and if you notice when I select this, all that I get is a box. In fact, if I go into my layers and just take a look at what's there, I only have one path. This is that one path. It's a box. However, this box has multiple fills and strokes that basically make it appear as though it's a very complex illustration. If I turn off the black, you can see the stacking order here. If I were to rearrange by just clicking and dragging, I can rearrange the stacking order. Okay, so that's similar to what we work with in the layers panel. The effects just are based on how you are applying them, and you can switch them around. They may or may not make a visual difference. If I want to change my effects, I basically just need to click it and it will open up those effects, the settings for that specific effect. So they are editable. Looking at just the panel here, I've got a number of little icons and quick keys here. I do have my delete selected item. I have my duplicate selected item. And if I don't have anything selected, those two do gray out. I also have a clear appearance, and this clear appearance would remove all of the appearances, all of those attributes from the object, including the fill and stroke. If I click that, my stroke goes to none, my fill goes to none, and I'm left with basically nothing. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. All right, over here we do have a few other, and they're kind of separated. So we have a new stroke, we have a new fill, and we have a add new effect. So here I can also add new fills and strokes. All right. If I go to the drop-down menu, I want to make note of something that is here that's of importance. It's this item. So new art has basic appearance. Of all of these things, this is one that you need to be aware of. Basically, with the check mark there, any new artwork that you create will have a basic appearance. What that means is that if I go over here and make a new box, I'll just make a small one here. Notice that it's basic. It has actually a red fill, red stroke, but it's a basic box. With this unchecked, if I have my object selected, my new artwork has basic appearance is unchecked. When I go ahead and create a new object, look what's going to happen. It's going to have, I'll make them in my artboard here, it's going to have whether I drag it narrow or whether I drag it wide, it's going to take on those appearance attributes of the previously applied shape. So you are going to probably want to have this checked so that when I create new shapes, it's the basic appearance. All right, let's clean up the artboard here for a moment. How do we duplicate items in this appearance panel? So we did see when we have something selected there that we can duplicate. And we can click this duplicate item button to do that. So if I take on this fill and I duplicate it, now I have a second fill. Actually, in this case, a fourth fill. Let's go ahead and start from scratch. And let's play with this a bit to see how we can create multiple fills and multiple strokes. I have a simple box filled with gray, stroke of red. You can see my appearance panel here. Now if I wanted to duplicate, say, my fill, I'm going to click the duplicate icon here, and then I have a chance that I can look at my swatches to change the color. You can also double click or use that little arrow. If I expand this out, I can see that there's an opacity default setting there. If I wanted to change my opacity, I could. Brings up that opacity panel. Okay. And now on this fill, basically I could apply then other effects. So the second fill is used to create a new object. It could have a distortion applied to it. Let's go ahead and do a transform here, and we'll preview this to see what's happening. Let's do a rotation of, say, 45 degrees. I press tab to just look at it, click OK. So here it is. This fill of green has now a transform on it. Notice my original. If I turn this off, you can see my original start of my box and my stroke. So you can get some pretty complex things here. I could then, under this fill, do something like a pucker and bloat. Or I could then do another duplication here. And on this one, we could apply a pucker and bloat. So you can see that this can get very complex. You can do some really, really fun things that magnify the effects. So there it is, and if I want to expand this, I can see this has a pucker and bloat, and we can change the color here if we wish. Okay, now because I based it off of this previous, see how the opacity setting was set at 52, the opacity setting here is also at 52 because I duplicated that previous effect. So play around with the appearance, see how complex you can get, and remember this is just one shape. I only have one box. Although when looking at it, it appears that I could potentially have 3 different things going on. I only have one. So that's the benefit of using the effects and playing with the appearance panel.